Back in 1969, a group of scientists decided to ask a pretty terrifying question. If you gave a monkey unlimited access to a whole bunch of addictive drugs, what would it actually do? The answer they found? Well, it came from a series of really landmark but also deeply controversial experiments that completely changed how we understand the raw power of addiction. Let's dive into what they discovered.
So it all kicked off with this very simple idea. Researchers over at the University of Michigan, they wanted to see, in the most direct way you could imagine, how different psychoactive drugs could really take hold. So they just gave a group of monkeys a choice. And what was that choice? It was a lever. Simple as that. You press it, and a machine would shoot a dose of a drug right into your bloodstream. The monkeys were basically handed the keys to their own highs. And what happened next was, well, it was a brutal, up-close look at how dependency works.
So you have to ask, what was the actual scientific goal here? I mean, the researchers weren't just looking for a physical reaction. They were trying to zero in on one of the most mysterious parts of addiction, psychological dependence. And this is absolutely crucial. See, it's not just about the body physically needing a drug to avoid feeling sick from withdrawal. It's about the mind actively and voluntarily choosing to use that drug over and over and over again. Would a monkey with no social pressure, no bad day at work, would it choose to become an addict? That's the question they needed to answer.
Okay, so how in the world did they set this all up? The procedure itself was, very clinical, very methodical. It was designed to get rid of every other possible factor, leaving just the monkey and the drug, one-on-one.
All right, so first, they put each monkey into a little cubicle with a harness to keep it in place. Then, a catheter was surgically put in, giving a direct line right into their bloodstream. After that, they were trained to use a lever system, but just with a harmless saline solution. And once the monkeys figured out, hey, I press this, I get something, that's when the saline was swapped out for a really powerful psychoactive drug. The stage was set.
And the results? Whoa. They were instant, they were dramatic, and they were completely different depending on the drug. The choices these monkeys made painted this incredibly vivid and often just horrifying picture of how addictive each substance really was. Just look at this table. It tells a wild story. With morphine, the monkeys kept a pretty steady intake and became really dependent. But with cocaine and amphetamines, their use just shot through the roof. They would binge until they literally couldn't anymore. On the flip side, they pretty much stayed away from mescaline, which tells you they probably did not enjoy that experience. And caffeine? Yeah, they'd use it here and there, but there was no real push to take more and more. And the saline, the control, totally ignored. Proof that this was all about the drug's effect.
The effects of cocaine were on another level of awful. The study notes that the use just spiraled out of control, leading to this severe physical breakdown. We're talking convulsions, losing muscle mass, and acting in ways that strongly suggested they were having powerful hallucinations. And all of this happened in about a month.
And the whole stimulant experience was just incredibly intense. The monkeys on amphetamines got so confused that they started ripping out their own hair. And check this out. When they were given access to both cocaine and morphine, they developed this routine that is just chillingly human. They'd use the cocaine, the stimulant, to stay awake and active all day, and then use the morphine, the sedative, at night. That deadly combo, it killed them within a month.
5. That's the number you need to remember for codeine. Of the 5 monkeys that were given unlimited access to that drug, every single one of them, all 5, were dead within 8 weeks. The number just says it all, doesn't it? It's just this stark reminder of how fatal that drug can be when there's nothing to stop you.
Now, as you can probably imagine, the sheer brutality of these results kicked off this massive ethical debate that honestly is still going on today. The experiment really forced people to have a very difficult conversation about the price we're willing to pay for knowledge.
And really, 2 main camps formed. On one side, you had bioethicists like Peter Singer, who called this speciesism. His argument was, look, if we wouldn't do this to a human, we shouldn't do it to an animal, period. But on the other side, you had philosophers like Carl Cohen, who made more of a utilitarian argument. He said, hey, if society is okay with using animals for food, then surely using them for critical medical research that could save countless human lives has to be justifiable. So when you look back at this whole thing, what's the lasting legacy? It's complicated. It's a picture that's defined just as much by what it taught us as it is by its really serious ethical problems. You just can't deny that the study gave us these powerful, even if they were grim, insights into how addiction works in the brain.
But at the same time, its cruelty became a major wake-up call. It was a huge reason why we now have the modern ethical guidelines for animal research that we do. And for the public, well, it created this unforgettable, deeply disturbing image of what addiction science can look like.
Oh, and it's also really important to point out the study's own limits. Even the researchers themselves said that their method only worked for drugs that could dissolve in water. This meant that other really major substances, like the active ingredients in marijuana, just couldn't be tested this way. So there was a pretty big hole in the data.
In the end, the monkey drug trials leave us with this huge, unresolved question. It really pushes us to face the tough trade-offs that we make in the name of science. Yeah, the experiment gave us a peek into the darkest corners of addiction, but it also forced us to ask if some doors are maybe better left unopened.